Hello everybody and welcome. I'm No02 and thank you for watching this video. This is my first team composition video for Act 1 No Hope mode, specifically No Hope mode. So keep in mind that these decks are not organized card-wise. The context of these cards are not organized to take into account the act that you're playing. What I mean by that, as far as context, I haven't talked about it in a long time, is when you're making a deck, you consider the context in which the deck is going to be used. What cleaner, what weapon, what act are you going to be playing it in? If you're playing Act 1, you should probably have, I would highly recommend that you have some sort of movement speed or extra stamina in your first 5 cards, or available for you to pick by the time you get to the crossing, because the primary thing that you're going to be doing in the crossing is running, and having any amount of extra stamina or movement speed is a huge benefit for that particular mission. So designing a deck around the context of what act you're playing would really determine the ordering of your cards to some extent, because you would want the correct cards to solve what problems you were facing on the next mission that you're going to be having on that particular act. But in No Hope mode, that's not really a consideration anymore because we get all of our cards at the same time. Keep that in mind. I also didn't take into consideration what cleaner each of these decks should be played with. I wanted to keep this sort of light-hearted, not super duper sweaty, in-depth, all this cleaner doing this and this cleaner doing that and things like that. Don't worry about it. You can play whatever cleaner you want. Use, you got that Doc Pestilence skin, and you can play shotgun, play the fire shotgun Doc. Who cares? Who cares, right? But don't worry about the context of what cleaner you're playing too much. All these shotgun, all of these decks are going to have the same 8 cards for the most part, which is going to be, I think, for the most. If you saw my top 15 cards for No Hope mode, those 8 cards are pretty much what's going on there, with some exceptions. But it's about having a super solid foundation of economy, both in the safe room, but also throughout the mission by generating extra resources. The last 7 cards will then be that character's sort of niche, their shotgun build, their sniper build, their Pestilence AR build, or their SMG build, right? But when it comes to No Hope mode, copper is king. Copper is the meta. If you have enough copper to buy team upgrades every single mission, and maybe an extra, the extra team's stamina or ammo upgrade, one of the extra team basic upgrades, as well as purchase cards throughout the mission, you'll be fine. You'll have a super powerful, overpowerful deck. Doesn't really matter. Copper is king, and you're going to see that right here now. Share the wealth, hazard pay, compound interest. Let's talk about these 3 cards first. The way the math works out here, because copper is king, copper is so important. If you have enough copper, you can do literally anything in the game. You'll always have team upgrades, you'll always have extra stats, you'll always have the resources that you need while leaving your safe room. So between these 3 cards, Share the Wealth will generate 1,600 copper per mission for your entire team. 1,600 divided by 4, 400 per player, right? Or, you know math, right? Plus hazard pay, which is additional 1,000 copper for the team. And then compound interest, giving 20%, because we have 4 copies of compound interest. That's 20% of 2,600. Giving us 3,120 copper at the start of every single mission distributed amongst your team. That's 780 copper minimum per teammate, per player. On top of that, you'll have your survivor bonus, your secondary objective bonus if you got it, as well as any extra copper you picked up along the way. You can very easily be pushing somewhere around 1,000 plus copper per player per mission. Tons and tons of copper. Tons of copper. But I think the card I need to talk about the most is compound interest. Compound interest is sort of the best of both worlds here. When it comes to maybe money grubbers, you might think, money grubbers is not really going to be triggering that often because of No Hope mode. But Cost of Avarice, that's a pretty good card to have if you have money grubbers, right? So money grubbers is sort of this feast or famine where you're not going to be generating very much at all with it. Sort of comparable to compound interest here, or actually significantly less per mission. But money grubbers would have a big old boon if you got Cost of Avarice. Well, interestingly enough here, compound interest benefits from Cost of Avarice too. Every pile of copper you pick up is going to have a 20% bonus added onto it, in theory, if you survive the mission. The 25 pile coppers are actually 30 when you're rolling with 4 copies of compound interest. So just like Money Grubbers benefits from Cost of Avarice, so does compound interest. All the copper that you pick up from as a result of Cost of Avarice will have 20% added to it at the end of that mission. So we still get that benefit, that sort of feast or famine feel that Money Grubbers gives with compound interest, but compound interest is also interacting with Share the Wealth and Hazard Pay, which Money Grubbers does not do at all. So compound interest is sort of this blend of both worlds. We're getting a consistent chunk of money every single mission, more reliable than Money Grubbers. And even though the benefit isn't quite as good as Money Grubbers when we do get Cost of Avarice, there's still a benefit there to be had with compound interest. On the flip side of it, you have like Bounty Hunter, which is, for the most part, a slightly better hazard pay, extra 50 copper. But I've been finding in Act 1, actually been finding that if you're moving at a good pace, Bounty Hunter doesn't actually trigger more than 25 times. I've been finding hazard pay to be more consistent. I've been finding that Bounty Hunter didn't start triggering super reliably until like Bad Seeds, until like the really long missions, and it was sort of hard to go fast, and you know, those missions are really long just naturally, and so I found Bounty Hunter not triggering all the time. I still like hazard pay, but if you're a believer in Bounty Hunter, replace hazard pay with Bounty Hunter for all the 4 players. No big deal. But, right, Bounty Hunter doesn't interact with Cost of Avarice at all, so the Feast or Famine of compound interest will still get that big boon of money for Cost of Avarice with compound interest, and still get some copper reliably each mission, though it's not as much as Bounty Hunter. So I think compound interest is in this really weird middle ground here, being the best of both worlds now because of Cost of Avarice being a card. If we weren't running 2 other copper cards, then compound interest obviously wouldn't be worth it. This is sort of a word of note here. At 5,000 copper between your team, if you're running 4 copies of compound interest, and your team begins a mission with 5,000 copper split between them all, compound interest will generate 250 copper. 250 copper. So at 5,000 copper net team net worth, compound interest becomes just as good as hazard pay. So let's put that in sort of perspective there. Next is Pinata. All 4 players have Pinata. Pinata is the best card in the game. The instances in which you're throwing an accessory is typically when there's lots of ribbon around, like during a horde event. So that's a lot of opportunity to roll a 15% chance. Because you'll throw a Molotov and it'll burn 20 zombies, throw a grenade, blow up a horde of zombies, throw a pipe bomb, blow up a lot of zombies. For the most part, Pinata will end up triggering multiple times per mission. Each player will have it. They'll each have the opportunity to do it, because they're each throwing something different for their particular situation. For the most part, though, Pinata will generate a well-placed Molotov, pipe bomb, grenade. Well, Pinata can easily read if you throw a grenade at the right time, you'll get at least one thing back. Pinata's a great card, insane card. I think it's a must-have in literally every single deck now, from here on out until they nerf it. On your mark, all 4 players will have on your mark. All the other stats, those are nice. We care about the ammo. Ammo. About 40% of your ammo per horde event. That's a lot of ammo. Of course, you're also dropping ammo for your teammates, right? And so that 40% sort of gets stretched even further because it's 40% of AR ammo for each player, but only one player's using that AR ammo, and so the potential ammo pool for each individual player, because each player is using a different gun, is insane. And on your mark will solve all your ammo problems. You don't even need to worry about it. If you are worried about it, before you start a horde event, right, before you shoot an alarm door, well, you won't be doing that with this team composition, before you start a nest or whatever, what have you, right, open up your inventory, click on your ammo stuff a couple of times, drop ammo on the ground, and then you start your horde event, and you're guaranteed to get your 40% of ammo, and then you'll have excess left over on the ground and things like that. So it just solves all your ammo problems. Offensive Scavenger. Each character will have a different scavenger card. Just resources throughout the mission. The more things you can throw over the course of a mission, the more beta you're going to be off. So just super reliable, a resource generation card. Double grenade pouch, because you want to leave the safe room at the very least, with enough resources to get through a significant portion of the map. And then between Offensive Scavenger and Pinata, everyone's Pinata, you'll be able to sort of supplement your grenade economy throughout the mission and have enough things to throw from start to finish. And that's the ultimate goal here. Double Grenade Pouch will allow you to do that while also by purchasing things in the safe room. Run Like Hell. We want, I think, at least one movement speed card here. Run Like Hell's great now. It's sort of actually what it was before, because 15% was what it used to be. So 15% sprint speed is actually a return to what it was originally before getting nerfed. And I think that's all we really need. There's plenty of opportunity to get extra stamina and stamina regen. There's lots of cards that you could potentially purchase at card boxes throughout the run, as well as there being a reliable team stamina upgrade at the shop now. Any excess money, I recommend you purchase a couple of stamina here or there. 2, 3, not a big deal, depending on, you know, your needs and your circumstances and how much your team likes to run and things like that. So easy ways to get extra bits of stamina, which will then always complement Run Like Hell. Just giving you the bare minimums of having enough movement speed to do the crossing comfortably, or reposition if you're in a bad position when a horde event starts and things like that. 15% sprint speed is just barely enough to sort of keep pace with the blitzing zombies. They just sort of barely catch up to you. So if you start running and there's blitzing zombies chasing after you, it'll probably take them about your entire stamina bar before they actually catch up to you, giving you plenty of time to hopefully reposition. Now we get into actually what this deck is going to be doing. Pyro Buckshot Bruiser. We're hoping for the Damnation Shotgun. Pyro does, in fact, trigger off of the fire effect that the Damnation does. Also, becoming immune to fire is kind of cool, so throw a Molotov on the ground and bask in its glow as zombies burn around you, I guess. I don't know. But sort of, again, this synergizes now with Buckshot Bruiser. We're going to have 2 sources of temporary health generation, hopefully allowing you to maintain a nice chunk of temporary health, keeping you healthy, giving you damage resistance, allowing you to be in front with your shotgun and do significant DPS. All the shotguns have huge DPS. So when it comes to getting the shotguns to do reliable DPS, you actually just need accuracy, because all the shotguns do significantly higher DPS than all of the other guns in the game. So we're going to sort of cut a corner here and not pick up a whole lot of damage and just rely on the natural ability of the shotgun. All we need to do is get accuracy so the shotgun can work properly as far as DPS goes. But also getting that increased accuracy is going to make Buckshot Bruiser more reliable as well. We don't have Quick Kill here. We don't have Quick Kill because I want to keep our ability to ADS. When it comes to getting 100% accuracy on a shotgun, it's very counterintuitive for Buckshot Bruiser. Shooting at zombies is not always really the best source for Buckshot Bruiser, but if there's a nice clump of zombies in front of you, you actually want a larger bloom on your crosshair so that your pellets spread out and hit multiple zombies, triggering multiple Buckshot Bruisers. The issue with Buckshot Bruiser versus zombies is that you shoot a zombie and it gets killed by like the first mega pellet or whatever, and then Buckshot Bruiser only triggers once per zombie, and so having a larger balloon, or the choice of it, is really nice for dealing with the horde, just in general, because you have more crowd control anyways. Plus its benefits Buckshot Bruiser in the long run. So if you want to shoot at a horde of zombies, provide crowd control, generate extra health with a horde of zombies, you can stand up. You can just stand up and have a bigger balloon. But with Hunker Down, Optics Enthusiast, and I recommend a laser sight, unless you get the shotgun, the Damnation Shotgun, then that doesn't matter because you can't put attachments on it. But for the most part, though, you can still achieve 100% accuracy, and then you can choose to whether or not have 100% accuracy or 60% accuracy by crouching or not. So kind of a neat trick that you can do here with Hunker Down. Plus, Hunker Down synergizes with all the extra temporary health. Every point of temporary health that we generate is 10% stronger than it typically would be in theory here, because Hunker Down gives us 10% damage resistance. So a really great synergy, I think, in general for shotgun users. Now we get Shredder. Most of the shotguns shoot like, 8 pellets or whatever in this game. So the first pellet of shotgun ammo or the first round of shotgun ammo will deal 8 stacks of Shredder. The second round will max it out. So shotgun's a great weapon to apply Shredder, giving yourself damage, but also the entire team 15% damage. Super solid. And now, because we're not going quick kill, we don't go Mag Cumpler, because we still want to keep our ADS, but luckily there's scattergun skills. A nice second to that 50% reload speed with a 40% reload speed here. One nice thing about scattergun skills is I personally prefer the AA-12. Use whatever shotgun that you prefer. If you like the TAC-14, that's great, or Super 90, that's great as well. Use whatever shotgun you prefer. The nice thing about, at the very least, having scattergun skills in the deck, or any extra reload speed at all, is that for the most part, you're either going to be starting off a mission with either the Express or the TAC-14, depending on what character you choose. Most likely the Express. In the TAC-14 and the Express, shoot faster when you have more reload speed. And so, scattergun skills is actually a nuanced way to increase our DPS overall, because our gun now shoots faster. It's a kind of nice little trick that we can do for our shotguns in general. But if you're running the AA-12 or the Super 90, having more reload speed, that means that you can just keep shooting more often anyways. And now Fit as a Fiddle. Most of the characters will have Fit as a Fiddle right at the end here. We'll be taking advantage of the bolstered health with Buckshot, Bruiser, and Pyro. But also our healer is going to have big single target heals potential. And so there's going to be a lot of opportunity for bolstered health as well as overheal. And so hopefully the team can be super duper healthy in a lot of circumstances, and we'll see how that goes. Next is the sniper player. Witness is what they're hoping for in the long run. Same 8 cards here, right? Share the Wealth, Hazard Pay, Compound Interest, Pinata on your mark, right? But instead of Offensive Scavenger, Support Scavenger, giving you enough healing supplies to hopefully get through a mission comfortably, and for the medic of the team to take advantage of. But next is Stealthy Passage. This is actually an additional economy card. You don't need to worry about buying toolkits to open up anything but toolkits. If you find just 4 alarms in a mission, that's the same value as Share the Wealth. And even if you don't, you just find 2. That's almost like a hazard pay. If you find 3, that's a bounty hunter, right? Like, there's so much potential copper here to be had for Stealthy Passage. There will be some missions where you don't really get that much value out of it at all. And some missions where you can get tons of value out of it. Like Bookworms. If you can go through the hotel on Bookworms, oh, that's great. Tons of doors. Even if the door that's on your direct path isn't alarmed, sometimes doors in the area are alarmed as well. And you can just run over and just open them up. Even if there's nothing behind them, even if you don't care about looting what's behind them, it's still just 100 copper per alarm when Stealthy Passage is triggered. So I think Stealthy Passage is a must-have card in every single team composition. I made a top 15 cards video. I don't know if I've already mentioned it in this video at all, but a lot of those cards are in these decks. So pretty much all of these cards almost all of those 15 cards are distributed amongst these cards in these decks here. Next is Patient Hunter, sniper player. So if you are running a typical sniper rifle or you know something big is coming, you can preemptively ADS and you'll get the most value out of an extra 30% because you shoot real big bullets. And though once you have the Witness, the bullet damage in itself drops off a little bit, but I mean, 71 damage a bullet plus 30% plus 10% from bullet damage. It's going to be, I mean, you'll be shooting, whatever it is, an M1A. Slightly faster than an M1A, but you'll be shooting like Phoenix-sized bullets, essentially. A lot of damage potential here. So just damage. Cold brew coffee, wide mouth magwell, and reload drills, though. So this is sort of, if you don't end up getting the Witness, you're still going to be able to comfortably use a Barrett or a Phoenix. Reload speed increases your fire rate with those sniper rifles, and so having these 3 cards in general actually increases your DPS if you're using those 2 bolt-action rifles. And makes them easier to use because you can shoot and then move again faster because you reload the individual shells faster. So, flat damage bonus, DPS overall increase because of the fire rate. And then we just pick up Fit as a Fiddle to continue with the synergy here that you'll sort of see now with our Pestilence support AR player. This player does not have Pinata. That's because this player is going to be running flashbangs. This player does not have double grenade pouch. They're running admin reload, so we want to avoid losing any swap speed. But because this is going to be the anti-boss character, Pestilence is a great weapon to deal with bosses. Not so much about for dealing with anything else other than maybe like the occasional tall boy that you can pepper from a distance. So with that in mind, this character is about having flashbangs, handling bosses, basically neutralizing the boss. That's this character's job. And it's incredible. Pestilence, flashbangs here. This character can can like 1v1 all of the bosses incredibly fast with just a couple of mag dumps in a well-timed flashbang. Very, very, very cool. But they're also going to be our support player. So we're going to be cutting a lot of corners here as far as extra damage and DPS. Relying on the idea that we could potentially get Pestilence, but also relying on the fact that we have Admin Reload. And so if we end up buying any other cards in the future that increase our damage, Admin Reload benefits greatly from that. So sort of cool in that we have a foundation for damage set up with the opportunity to build into more damage depending on what cards we find in the mission. So, but we are the support character. We have a second support scavenger here. People for generations have been saying the scavenger cards stack. I don't really play too many team games necessarily. I've never played in a team game and went, hey, let's test this out, right? So I can't say for sure, but everyone says that these cards stack together. So let's just sort of double down on it. Let's make sure that we have enough health supplies to do all those things. We want extra medkits if we can, desperately, for your team. The funny thing about support cards is, if you are not taking damage, if things are going well, support cards have no value. But for the most part, we have Needs of the Many, Medical Professional. Tried and true Wombo combo. Super solid. Medical Professional is one of the most reliable means of getting trauma recovery for your team. Fresh Bandage is a close second, but that takes each player to run Fresh Bandage, or we can have one player run Medical Professional. So it's sort of give or take. I think there's definitely a team composition that I want to make with Fresh Bandage, though, to sort of do like a no support team comp. I'm working on it. So we have Needs of the Many for the life economy, because there's no extra life in No Hope mode, and there's also no respawning in No Hope mode. So having the ability for somebody to go down, really, really good, because they don't respawn if they die, and having the ability to restore that life over time is really solid as well. Now we have the big heals: Poultice, EMT Bag, and Group Therapy. These three cards are going to give you so much health. Poultice is insane. I've talked about it many, many, many times. Tons and tons of times, but Poultice is like an 80% healing efficiency boost to bandages. It turns pain pills into bandages pretty much. And Poultice is almost 50% increase to medkits anyways. Then we have EMT Bag, so your basic medkit will heal for 95 points of health between Poultice and EMT Bag. That's tons and tons of health. Our fourth character, they will be running Overheal, so guaranteeing us that we're going to get the value out of this mega heal medkit setup here, no matter what. Pretty much no matter what. But then Group Therapy. So if your team is at full health, and you use a medical accessory, and our last character, our SMG character, has well rested, this group therapy health will translate into temporary health. And that's a powerful Wombo combo for opening up warped chests. Because if you have temporary health, you don't receive the negative effects of the warped chest trauma or whatever. That, I think, is going to be changed in the future, but for the time being, kind of a cool interaction in a way. Kind of a cool interaction because we can build a deck or combination of cards around that idea. So with that being said, we have Group Therapy here to do that. And because these decks are built in sort of in theme of having a particular legendary weapon, you're going to want to be able to comfortably open up all of the warped chests that you encounter. So big mega heals plus some team splash heals. Really, really solid healing. Also, too, a really interesting interaction between Poultice and Well Rested. If Poultice health Poultice health will turn into temporary health. So if you have temporary health and Poultice is activated, your temporary health won't drain, because Poultice is also ticking up at the same time. So actually keep your temporary health in the same place for the duration of Poultice. Once Poultice ends, it'll start bleeding away per normal. So that's sort of a neat interaction here. No matter what happens, no matter how much health you have or what's going on, Poultice will always be generating you that 20 points of health over time. Very, very cool. Next, Admin Reload. It's just a nice little sort of the bare bones minimum foundation for what could be a decent DPS deck. Hoping that we get more cards in the future. even if you're just buying like, or even if you're just finding like the ammo upgrade cards, or getting the team ammo upgrade for the extra 1%, admin reload will benefit from all that stuff. Next is cold brew coffee and then headband magnifier. This character will be applying medkits, defibrillators. This is great to have for that, as well as possibly picking characters up. Because if you end up finding, what is it, medical... What's that card? What's that card here? I don't remember what it is. You guys know what I'm talking about. Oh gosh, why can't I remember what it is? Combat medic. If you find like combat medic, right, like any sort of support card in general, most likely you're going to be the character picking up people who are downed, because you'll do it fastest anyways. But also, because it's Act 1, you'll have the bare bones minimum of use speed to sort of get through Rolling Thunder. Though you are really desperately hoping for more use speed here. But the nice thing about getting extra use speed is that there are, well, not medical expert, but there's an additional 4 cards that you could potentially find. So there's an okay chance of finding 1 or 2 extra cards maybe over the course of an entire campaign. Next is our SMG player. They're hoping for prototype. Same 8 cards, except weapon scavenger. Since you're going to be looking for a lot of warp chests, you might also want to be looking for totems. Totems are weapons, so they trigger off of weapon scavenger. But also, too, with so little resource generation happening in no hope mode, having a reliable weapon scaling effect of getting extra weapons over the course of no hope mode is really, 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 really nice. I wasn't a big believer in weapon scavenger, just because people so regularly visit toolkit rooms anyways, and there's always weapons in there, and like for the most part you can sort of skip out on weapon scavenger. But with no hope mode, getting stuck with common weapons for a really long time because you can't find any, or having just as many opportunities as possible to get more attachments and things like that, weapon scavenger I think is a decent card to have here. Next is Speed Demon for the extra reload speed. Primarily 35% reload speed, no drawback, a little bit extra movement speed, no big deal. Really, really, really nice though. And the idea is if we have an SMG like the prototype, basically locking down a mutation, we want to be able to reload really fast and then keep locking down that mutation. Next is combat training. Now, when it comes to providing extra stumble potential for weapons, usually Silver Bullets ends up being better because the extra 5% damage that Silver Bullets gives will translate into more stumble power, but only if the weapon does a certain amount of damage per bullet. So like with a green AK. With a green AK, combat training will generate 12% stumble value, or 12% stumble damage, whereas Silver Bullets will only generate 11% stumble damage. Since we're using SMGs, typically the bullet damage is lower than all the other weapons, so combat training ends up being a more reliable source of stumble value than some of the other bullet damage cards. But we are hoping for the prototype, which does like 20, which does looks like with 29 damage a bullet or something like that. I don't remember. You can go watch my video on it. Right. So then we pick up Confident Killer, which is 15 is more than 10, and Hyper Focused. We're not really ever gonna make the SMGs in general, because if you even don't, what if you don't get prototype right? We're never really gonna make the SMGs to ever do really big bullet damage per bullet. So there's no point, I think, in stacking all of the damage cards here. We are sort of hoping for prototype. With Hyper Focus, though, we're going to get the most bang for our buck as far as one card goes, doing as much potential damage as possible. This, between Combat Training, Confident Killer, and Hyper Focus, you're going to be able to comfortably and reliably stumble all of the Stinger and pretty much all of the Reeker variants, especially if they got a weak spot, comfortably with our SMG, which is a huge, huge benefit. Because SMGs already reload naturally fast, and we have Speed Demon for extra reload speed, and so you'll be able to pump out tons and tons of DPS, tons and tons of potential stumble value, and if you have Prototype, you'll be locking things down as well. A really cool, sort of like very snappy, fast shooting setup here for the SMG. And then next we have Bomb Squad and Improvised Explosives. Just enough grenade damage. In the event that you need to go nuclear on something, If you get blue or purple grenades between Bomb Squad and improvised explosives, you'll have enough grenade damage, also with Shredder and Confident Killer, to blow up bosses. You may not be able to do 100% a boss with 3 grenades, but you'll do tons of damage. And you should never just be preemptively grenade dumping a boss, right? Like if the breaker comes out of the gas station on clean sweep, you shouldn't be grenade dumping it the second it opens up the garage. Why are you doing that? You should be fighting it first, and you only grenade dump the boss when you're desperate, when you have to, when things are falling apart. Someone's about to bleed out, so just get the boss over with and then save them. Things like that. But also, too, once you have blue or purple grenades, Bomb Squad and improvised explosives will still give you the ability to stumble hardened monstrous tallboys, and that's very important. And then well rested, just to do that group therapy wombo combo that the Pestilence AR support player is going to have here. Nice thing about team cards is that you can split them amongst the players, and so everyone can get their wombo combo off. So well rested. This deck is cool because we're built around having... These decks are cool in that we're built around having a particular legendary weapon. We are utilizing the 2 new mechanics that that Tunnels of Terror brought, and we have the ability to open up lots and lots of warp chests with lots of money. Let me know what you guys think of this team composition. I've been trying to get this video under 30 minutes. It's not possible. I'm sorry. Thank you for watching. Good luck and have fun.